my name is Maria Luisa Bello, or Marilu. I live in Connecticut. I also work down in Washington, D.C. I'm here representing Connecticut. And I was part of the group Identity and Multiculturalism. As my colleague said, the point of this conference is to make our voices heard, because there are Italians all over the world, not just in Italy. And these Italians need to be represented, particularly young Italians who are the future. Without young Italians, we cannot continue the identity and the culture, because we, like he said, are those ambassadors, we are those mediators, we are those carriers. If we don't transmit this culture to future generations and spread it amongst our own culture, the Italian culture and the Italian identity not only will change and morph, but it will also or morph from what it actually truly means to be Italian into something that could possibly disappear. And this is something that we discussed in our group. First, what we did was start with what is l'italianità, what is it to be Italian, and since every country has different, let's say, components of this that they've taken from general Italian culture, we could not specify, for instance, if you eat this kind of food. But what we did was we came up with the general components and came up with more of a general definition regarding these components. Secondly, we also, I guess in terms of big themes, we came up with some proposals, and they basically fall into three groups. The first is social participation, the second is institutional participation, and I'll just talk about these and then I'll go into the third. Social participation are things like what Graziano suggested. Social networking is huge. It doesn't matter what thematic group you're in. This is something that is incredibly important to our identity, and in order to bring everybody together and communicate. The way the world is now in communications is that through the internet, we can talk to somebody anywhere in the world, and it doesn't cost anything. This is incredibly important because, like Graziano said, we are not here asking for money. There are plenty of initiatives that we can undertake ourselves that don't cost money, that we do not have to beg the Italian government for money, that we can undertake in order to achieve our goal. So that's just one example of social participation. In terms of institutional participation, this includes local and regional organizations, associations, as well as government, because it would be nice if government partook in this, not only recognizing us, but also approving of what we're doing and supporting us to also lend legitimacy to our arguments. On that note, you can work, what we can do at the local and state, let's say, level, is work with local organizations, put on events, things like this, but not events that necessarily older generations like to partake in. These are important, but we need to focus on events that young people like to attend. The first thing that comes to mind is a happy hour. We don't necessarily, most Italian Americans will roll their eyes when they have to go to an Italian dance with their parents and sit there and listen. So what we want to do is create events that will draw people in. Even if maybe they know they're Italian, but they don't have that connection to their culture, and maybe the event attracts them or grabs their attention, this is something that they would like to participate in. Thirdly, the last one is to promote, to change the image of Italians and Italian Americans specifically, which is what we're speaking about here as United States, because, so I'll just talk about those stereotypes. I won't talk on the international level, but particular to the United States, there's a problem with stereotypes. And when you say you're Italian, some people will automatically think that you're in the mafia, or, you know, there's various other stereotypes that come along with it. You'll need pizza and pasta, whatever it may be. So what we need to do is use various forms such as media and education to help promote a more positive image and reputation of Italians abroad in general and specifically to our country, so that people will listen. You can do this through all sorts of cultural exchanges, like you know, from teachers all the way down to students, or you can use the media to use like a positive ad campaign. You can also, another idea that came up was on the cultural level, maybe once a month run Italian films. So these are just some, examples of some of the proposals that we have come up with. And as you can tell, none of them really require us to beg anybody for money or to ask for money. These are all things that we can do. What's important is to come together and unify as young Italian Americans and young Italians.